EA has clearly been panicking over Dragon Age the Veilguard's spectacular failure, and while we just heard that they are going to be completely restructuring BioWare, we're also now finding out that a ton of the radical leftists who wrote this game and added characters like Tosh are now gone. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of days, we have gotten a whirlwind of news surrounding BioWare and their plans for the future with Mass Effect, but also what they plan to do with Veilguard, and that just seems to be leave it in the past. They are done updating it, they are getting rid of the people who worked on it, and it seems that they are really looking to the future in a very desperate way. Like, all they see is Mass Effect, and if Mass Effect ends up failing, that's it for the studio, but the fallout from Veilguard's catastrophic failure continues, and BioWare now is undergoing a massive restructuring that all but confirms the studio is being slashed to the bone. Now, if you had asked me a decade ago what I thought about BioWare, I would say I loved them. They had created some really amazing games that I have a lot of nostalgia for, but over the past decade, they have really done the worst job possible with titles like Anthem and Veilguard and Andromeda, and I just do not care if they go under at this point, and that makes me sad to say because I would still love for BioWare to be the company they once were, but they certainly are not anymore. They are a shell of the company they used to be, and while it seems that they're trying to construct this like S-tier team for the next Mass Effect game, I still don't have any faith in them. Just because they created good games decades ago does not mean that they still could create them now, and they're just one of those companies that over the years has really gone away from what made them very special. They've tried to modernize, they've tried to hire people with all of these big new ideas, but at the end of the day, they have all failed. So in a post on BioWare's official blog, the studio general manager, Gary McKay, announced that the company is shifting its focus entirely to the next Mass Effect game, effectively sidelining Dragon Age after the latest installment's disastrous reception. I don't think we ever really expected them to go back to Dragon Age, or at least for a very, very, very long time. They would have to basically forget about Veilguard, they would have to decanonize it, and they would have to start with a new cast of characters or the older nostalgic characters, and even that, their storylines are kind of tainted because some of them did return in Veilguard. Like, no matter what they did, they would be completely screwed and they would piss people off. So I don't think we expected any, next to Dragon Age news, but it is still funny to see. And it says, while McKay attempts to paint this as an exciting new chapter at BioWare, the reality is clear. Veilguard's failure has forced EA's hand, and the studio is now being gutted. Key staff are being shuffled out of BioWare and into other EA divisions, and while the statement avoids explicitly mentioning layoffs, the language strongly suggests that many developers won't have a place to land, and now we are certainly finding out that that is the case because a ton of people have taken to Blue Sky or X to announce that they no longer have jobs. And sure, when a game's development cycle is completely over, a lot of people are going to be let go, but if you were one of those core team members who did a good job, who is not somebody internally that's really getting blamed for the game's failures, you're going to be kept around, especially if you have something to contribute to another project, but that is not the case here. So Patrick or Trick Weeks and Karen West Weeks, the lead writer and the lead editor on Dragon Age the Veilguard, are both out at BioWare. And if you don't remember who Trick Weeks is, they are a person, that's for sure. Introduced myself to the team as lead writer and dragon romance specialist at today's meeting. Anybody who wants me to present something on a Friday knows what they have signed up for. They live in Canada. Oh wow, who could have imagined that? With their non-platonic life partner, their children, and an ever-increasing number of rescue animals. By day, Patrick currently works at BioWare. That needs to be edited, where they are lead writer on the Dragon Age franchise. By night, they write novels who feel usually boils down to absurd premise executed faithfully. Patrick enjoys Lego, martial arts, and musical numbers. Absolute cringe fest here. Patrick is out. and one bites the dust. They both said, I'm now looking for a new writing or narrative position. It's been a privilege to work with so many amazing devs over my 20 years at BioWare, and I will cherish the memories of the wonderful folks in the community I've met along the way. Thank you all. And this is important to point out that Trick had worked for BioWare for a long time, working on games as far back as the original Mass Effect trilogy, but just because he was able to assist in those amazing games doesn't mean that he currently is still a good writer, and that's certainly not the case. Karen had said, hello, I'm looking for work, ideally in an editor role. It's been an honor to work with so many talented professionals and a pleasure to meet so many amazing community members in all my years at BioWare. And I don't like to revel in the fact that people are losing their jobs, but at the end of the day, if you are bad at your job, you should not have this job, and you should make way for people who are just better at doing the job to be able to work on these franchises. And this is another post. According to posts shared on LinkedIn and Blue Sky, BioWare's restructuring has led to the termination of Veilguard's lead writer, Trick, the lead editor, Karen, and the narrative editor, Ryan Cormier. Additionally, the BioWare producer, Jennifer Chiveri, I think that's how you say it, associate game producer Daniel Steed, senior product manager Lena Anderson, and senior systems designer Michelle Flam were also let go, while senior writer Cheryl Chi, who wrote Dragon Age's Lalania, and Harding was moved to EA Motive. So many of these people have been let go. They're no longer with this company. And even Corinne Bush had said just a few weeks ago, oh, they were leaving voluntarily because they have some other big plans in the works, which I'm pressing X'd out. They were probably told, like, yeah, you can say that you quit, but just know internally you got fired. And I just wonder now where these absolute lunatics are going to go, what companies they're actually going to get hired at, and I definitely do not want them to be working at companies that are actually making half-decent games, because everything they touch seems to turn to trash. But it is just a sad situation all around that we had waited a decade and they had put hundreds of millions of dollars into a Dragon Age game just for it to come out and be the cringiest piece of content possible. Modern day terminology like transgender and non-binary, having top surgery scar toggles, having characters just constantly talking about their identities like Tosh. You can't avoid those characters, you can't ignore those characters, and that is why so many people disliked Veilguard so much, because it was so forced. And it really did not sit right with a lot of people. So over the next few weeks, it will be interesting to see if anybody who had gotten fired actually makes any statements about this, or if we hear about any new rumors or speculation. But I'm definitely worried about the future of BioWare. I think that everybody that's working there should be as well. I do not have any faith in them to create another amazing experience going forward. Maybe they can turn it around with this S-tier team that's going to be working on the next Mass Effect title, but they have had so many failures in a row that I cannot blindly support them or give them any blind faith. And now we're finding out that BioWare has been completely gutted and they're being restructured after Veilguard's failure, and I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.